White belly up.
This is the game. It's cat and mouse.
Smoked a turkey. Yes. He is down. He is freaking down.
Said he shot an absolute giant.
Fall obsession, baby.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. I am Sam Thrash with Fall Obsession, your host for this week's episode. And joining me, coming back to our podcast for a second appearance over here, is our good buddy, Mr. Derek Eaves. What's happening, brother?
Man, not a whole lot. Doing good, Sam. Appreciate y'all having me back again.
Yeah, man, we had a blast last go-round, and I'm really happy that you were willing to come back on here with us for a second time. It's awesome. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Glad to be here. I've had some excitement since the last time we spoke.
I know you have, and that's what I wanna hit up and get into on this episode for sure. You've been laying them down. It's been awesome to watch.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm blessed and I'm thankful, and it has been a heck of a ride this season. So
awesome.
Still some more to go, maybe. Who knows?
Heck yeah, man. Well, before we start the story, real quick, as our listeners know, Elite Archery, you'll need to go check them out. We are partnered with Elite for going into our third year now. Very, very pleased to be shooting those bows. I'm running the Cure, as is Derek, this year. Actually put my first deer down with it last week, and then Derek, as you'll hear in this episode, has been putting his to work as well. And then they also got their new 2021 lineup out. Derek, have you had a chance to shoot those bows yet?
Man, I haven't. By the time they came out with them, I was really getting geared up for my trip to Kansas, and just didn't get an opportunity to go by and shoot any. But I have a couple on my mind that I'm thinking of probably gonna make a little appearance at the Eaves household.
Absolutely, they definitely should. I was privileged to get to put them in my hand, just the demo bows over at our local bow shop, Cinnamon Creek Ranch. And smooth shooters for sure. Love them both. The Remedy, I think, is my personal favorite, but obviously we want you guys to form your own opinions about them, so be sure that you go to your local Elite dealer, check them out, take the Elite Shootability Challenge, just put one in your hand, even if you're happy with your bow right now, and shoot it, see what you think, and who knows, you might be picking out your new bow for next hunting season. So, well, Derek, let's get into it, man. You got 2 stud deer on the ground this year. And I believe the first one was in your home state of Mississippi. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, that was, I think it was October the 5th. Our season starts here on October the 1st. And been getting this deer on camera. He showed up probably about 3 weeks earlier, and it was a deer that I didn't recognize from last year. And anyway, he showed up, and, I just I got this one little spot, and I've been doing a lot of studying maps and all that kind of good stuff to get a plan, get ready for him.
What kind of activity were you seeing from him leading into your hunt?
Well, he was kind of sporadic at first, kind of coming at night, just your typical mature whitetail habits, and then he's there right before season started. He was out a couple of days in daylight. And then I think 1 day or 2 days prior to when I killed him, or no, the day prior to when I killed him, he was out in daylight. And so anyway, I had to have a northwest wind, which is the perfect wind for that location, and really about the only wind that you really need to go in there and hunt. But I just tend to, as being a bow hunter, as you know, man, you have to play the wind, and you have to have patience. Mm-hmm. And just one of those places where, if I have big deer in there, then I'm only going to hunt when the scenario and the it's kind of like the setup is perfect.
Yeah.
Because too many times in the past where I wasn't quite probably as serious about deer hunting as I am now, I would just say, it'll be all right. I'm going to go ahead and go in there and just give it a whirl. Can't kill them if you're not in there kind of mentality, And so anyway, I'm just trying to be a little more patient this year and last year, and hunted at the right time. So, but man, it was a buck we called Junior. I think last time we were on the call, I mentioned something to you. You'd asked me about if we had a target buck, and I said, yeah, we had one, and I kind of hem-hawed around about where what kind of buck he was. Junior was not that buck. So the actual target buck, Blade, is still alive and well and large. He's large.
All right then.
But anyway, Junior, we like to name our bucks so that way we know kind of which one we're talking about. It's just kind of adds to the fun side of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were kind of on the back side of the ridge, and I knew I kind of honed in on kind of where they like to come from. And whenever I heard something kind of jump the ditch, and it was really dry at the time, I heard something jump the ditch and take a few steps, and then it just no more activity. And then about every 5 minutes or so, I would hear a couple steps. And I was sitting there putting that lock on, and I was thinking, I bet that's either Junior or Blade over there waiting until it gets dark to walk over here. And it was probably about, I had a couple does, I assume I know one of them was a doe, got downwind of me right behind to my left, and then I had another one downwind of me there right back to my right. Wind was swirling just a little bit off that northwest wind, but anyway, a couple of them blew at me, and I was actually sitting there thinking, I might just have to get down and might as well just get up and go home. But it was like 6 o'clock, right at 6 o'clock, and I was like, well, I have another hour to go, so I guess I'll just hang tight and see what happens. And sure enough, they came down from the right, which is, they had no idea I was in the world. But anyway, I'd heard that walking and stuff over there to the right every now and then a little spike come running up through there. When that spike come running through there, I guess some other ones thought, well, it's safe to come out now. And we had a small buck, kind of a little 10-point we call Trip, come out. And I was like, well, that's not him. And about 5 steps behind him was Junior. And Junior walked out. He stayed behind trees and just didn't offer me a shot for probably a good 5-10 minutes. It felt like an hour. But I tell you, man, Sam, I drew back on that deer right when he walked out, and I thought he was fixing to give me a shot opportunity. The other deer walked in front of him. But I drew back, and I held that elite cure for over a minute.
Oh, wow.
Which, oh, yeah, that's the longest I've ever had to hold one. But, of course, I was looking through my peep the whole time, and I was trying to, get that pull on that back end, just I could try to pull through my shot for steadiness and everything. And I was sitting there, and I mean, the deer were 25 yards from me, and finally just had to let it down. And then another opportunity come up, drew back on him again, and deer walks in front of him and held it for about 20 seconds and had to let it down again. And then waited a little while, and actually I was sitting there, and another buck comes up on behind the ridge behind them and snorts and wheezes, which I've never heard. I've never heard that a whole lot really in Mississippi. I've heard it a few times, but I've absolutely never heard it in that early in October. But a buck snort and wheeze, and as soon as I was thinking, I was like, oh, that's going to be Blade. Got to be Blade. Well, so then I'm sitting there with Junior in my sights and sitting there thinking, well, do I shoot Junior now or do I sit here and see if it's Blade? So anyway, I waited around a little bit, and the deer walks out, and finally it was not Blade. So Junior gave me an opportunity to shot, and I put that I shoot the Slick Trick Standards, the fixed blades, for whitetail. I shoot some Raptor tricks every now and then, but I've kind of just fell in love with the Standards, and I put it right behind his front shoulder, and I let it rip. And I tell you what, when it hit, it just went doop, like a gut shot. And so I was like, well, that's not good. So I waited a little bit, got down, went and looked at my arrow, and sure enough, it had nothing but the yellow and green that you see from a gut shot deer.
Oh, man.
So, but I caught a buddy of mine that has a really good trail, dog trailing dog called Smoke. And I mean, he's literally probably one of the best in the country as far as finding deer and retrieving deer. But so we decided I'd back out. So I walked a whole different way, just separate away from which way the bucket went. And we went back about 10:30 that night. Went to the shot site and let Smoke out, and the deer was dead, 120 yards where I shot him at. Which I'd heard him. It sounded like he was probably started walking, but I think maybe he was probably shuffling a little bit. It went in right behind his front shoulder and just came out back, a little back on him. So it ate his lung up pretty good, and good ethical clean kill. And like I said, 120 yards, and he was done.
Man, that's awesome. Was this buck, when you actually got your hands on him, was he the same caliber of deer that you thought he was going to be from, scouting and seeing pictures of him, or was he more than you thought he was?
Yeah, he was. I thought that he was probably going to be about 140. Whenever I got up to him, I mean, he was a real good deer, and for where I live, I mean, it was, if he walked out 100 times, I'd shoot him 100 times.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful, mature Mississippi whitetail, and for that early of bow season, it was just awesome.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when you have these trail cams out that they're looking up at the deer, they can kind of over exaggerate the size of them. Which the pictures I had, his tines looked like they were 12 inches long. They ended up being about 9.5 in. But they looked just ginormous.
Yeah.
But no, he was a mighty fine deer, and we scored him, measured him 3 times, and all 3 times it came out to be 142 inches on the nose. So I was tickled to death.
That is a stud whitetail.
I was tickled to death over him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Blade's still out there. I think every trail cam pic I get of him now, he's got his tongue sticking at me or something.
Is Lacey going to get a shot at him?
Yeah, I hope so. We don't. She hunt. Actually, when I was going to Kansas, it was a perfect scenario to hunt him on a Saturday, and she sat in the blind all day long, and it was right after a rain. And no, yeah, it wasn't a blind. I mean, yeah, she's in the vehicle with it. And she sat in a lock on. I need to get her on the phone and let her tell this story. But she was in a lock on, not a blind. And it was misty raining. She waited till it kind of really stopped raining, and she was up in that tree stand in that lock on, and sat there all day long until dark and did not see a single deer.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was really hoping she'd get a shot at Blade.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
really hoping she'd get a shot.
There's still plenty of season left, so.
Oh yeah. But he's still hanging around. He's not coming in. He's not coming out at daylight or in daylight pics right now. But yeah, it's just one of those kind of deals. It's the old deer. You have to be in there when the conditions are perfect, and you have to hope that he makes a mistake, and you have to hope that you capitalize on his mistake.
Well, a stud Mississippi whitetail, for sure. But then that wasn't enough. You followed that up with one heck of a deer in Kansas. So let's switch gears real quick, and let's talk about where this Kansas trip came from.
Yeah, I book hunts with 2B Outdoors. It's the number 2, the letter B, and then Outdoors. We have a Facebook page and Instagram page, and we're trying to finish up our website and stuff. But anyway, we book hunts from all over the United States, Canada, Mexico, African safaris, Argentina dove hunts, and all of the outfitters that we book hunts with are vetted outfitters. I've been on a hunt before where everything wasn't what exactly the outfitter told me it was going to be, and this week I've heard of 6 different people call me about a hunt and say, "Man, I went on a hunt to Illinois," or "I went on a hunt to Ohio," and I had some guys, 6 guys that went to Illinois this past, or 2 weeks ago, and so they went up there, paid $1,500 each to go hunt with an outfitter, ended up not being an outfitter, and they put them on public land, which I'm not opposed to hunting public land, but if I'm paying somebody for a hunt, then I expect it to be private land myself.
Yeah.
So anyway, we make sure people are who they say they are, and there are the places, all of these places are places that we've been, like me or the other members of the 2B Outdoors team, or it's somebody that I really, really trust and says, "Hey, you need to contact these people and help them, sell some of these bear hunts because they're legit." And they're, but it's got to be somebody that I really trust. And even then, the outfitter will put them through a pretty rigorous vetting process. So
yeah.
Anyway, all of our guys are who they say they are. So, but the place I went in Kansas was a relatively new outfitter. and actually some of the Jeb Shotes guys had recommended them, and some other people too. So went up there and then told the guy I wanted to book I want to go there and check it out. And I tell you what, man, Kansas. If you have never been to Kansas, it's something special. I mean, it really is, especially when you're coming from Mississippi, when it's a bunch of pine trees and a few hardwood draws on the creeks. It's just a cool place to go, wide open. I was up in northern Kansas. There's a lot of agriculture fields and really just totally wide open terrain. And to be able to see that far is just really cool to me, really neat, and just a totally different experience than what I'm accustomed to here in Mississippi.
Yeah.
But anyway, he showed me some trail cam pics, and he had a couple 200-inch deer, and he had some 180s and some 170s and 150s and so on and so forth. So he really just had it all. I mean, it's just one of those kind of deals where, I mean, I was just every farm that he had was just loaded. I mean, it would have 2 or 3 shooters on every farm.
Wow.
And coming from where I'm from, it's like that's insane to me to be, to be like that. So anyway, so we got a game plan, checked the wind for the week, and I was like, all right, well, I was my first year up there, so we had another guy hunting the really, really big deer. But he actually didn't get the deer, but that's a whole other story in itself. But anyway, I was on another place hunting another deer that I would say weighed at least 280 pounds, which when you look at trail cam pics of a deer that weighs 280 pounds versus a deer in Mississippi that weighs 180 pounds, the antlers just don't even look that big on them because they're such a big deer.
Yeah, they're just huge body-wise.
Until I got up there, until I got up there and seen them live, I had no idea. I mean, I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
But I hunted one morning, I hunted one place, and then in the afternoons I would hunt another place, and then I swapped to the morning time for the place I was hunting in the afternoon because we had some trail cam pics of them coming out in the morning. All right, so once I switched stands and I went to the place in the morning instead of the afternoon, it was 21 degrees. No, I'm sorry. It was 14 degrees.
Oh, wow.
With 12-mile-an-hour winds. Rough on a Mississippi boy.
Man, that is rough. That's rough for anybody.
Yeah, it was tough. I got there way before daylight. It was a pretty good little walk in there, and got in my stand, got everything set up, and way before the sun started coming up, and wind was blowing. There was snow on the ground. I mean, it was just beautiful. It started snowing a little bit when the sun came up. Well, about 9:30, as my toes were about to break off, it felt like. That buck walks out. I call him Patch because he got one of his eyes put out, I'm assuming from fighting.
Oh, dang.
They say that those Kansas deer are pretty aggressive, and you always hear folks say, man, you can grunt to them and they'll respond, or rattle some horn and they'll come in. And I mean, there were several deer on camera that he had on camera that were just bruisers that had an eye put out, which was pretty cool in my opinion. I mean, I hate it for the deer to have an eye put out, but it's pretty tough.
Man, yeah, that's battle scars right there.
Yeah. But at 9:30 that morning, I saw him walk out about 150 yards from me, getting downwind of me, and he was going from the left to the right, kind of out of the bottom up the little finger of the ridge into some cedars. And when I saw him, Sam, I was like, whoa! I mean, he was 150 yards away, and my heart started pounding.
Oh man!
I mean, it literally looked like a cow walked up out of that draw with a huge, tall rack on him. I'll have to. Of course, I can't put the picture on here, but I'll text you the picture when we get off the call here, so you can just see the size of this deer.
Yeah.
But anyway, he walks out and gets in that thicket, and I sat there. I grunted at him for a couple times, nothing. Of course, I was locked in on that right side, but he'd got over there downwind of me. He wasn't directly downwind of me, but I'm pretty sure he probably did. And so anyway, I never saw him, and my feet had gotten so cold by probably about 10:30 that I had to take my hand warmers and take my boots off and throw my hand warmers in my boots to keep my feet from freezing off.
Oh man.
I mean, it was tough. Well, didn't get a shot at that deer, but I did get to see him, and so that really got me pumped up. And then that afternoon, the wind had swapped a little bit more. It was kind of coming out of the northwest, and that's not a good wind for that stand location. And we thought maybe the deer had potentially smelt me, winded me.
Yeah.
And he may have. So we switched stands. But a little side note there, I talked to my outfitter this morning, and that buck that I saw that day at 150 yards came in to 60 yards to a guy that's hunting it today, and he didn't get a shot at him.
Oh man.
So he's, oh yeah, and the guy said he's just an absolute giant, just a stud of a deer.
Wow.
So anyway, we went to another spot, and we had one on camera that was coming out in daylight. So he said, well, my outfitter said, yeah, he's probably not that big of a deer. He said he's got a pretty good range. He looks like he's got some good, decent mass. He said, but the only pics I have are him going away from the camera. And I was like, well, he said, but he's a mature deer. He said, I'd like to get him killed. I was like, well, I said, I'll sit here this afternoon. It's a perfect wind for it. We'll see what happens. I said, if he walks out and I decide that he's not really what I'm looking for, then I'll let him go. And if he walks out and I don't like him, then I'll see if I can slide one of those slick tricks through it. And he said, all right. So, I sit up in that stand. I grunted on my grunt call, probably about 5:45, 5:40, something like that. About 10 minutes later, I see antlers coming up across the fence out of a big CRP field. And he's kind of making his way up there, and he makes a scrape, and then he rubs up some trees, and then he's got some licking branches. He's, putting a scent on and those kind of things. And then he walks up the fence line and jumps over the fence and comes over in the field that I'm in. And he's standing there at 32 yards, broadside. And, well, first of all, when I first saw him, I saw the mass that this deer had on his head, and I don't know if my heart has ever beat that hard at a deer. I mean, it was one of them kind that you can hear your heart beating.
Oh,
I
man.
mean, it was just. I mean, anybody listening here that hunts, whatever the main game that you chase that gets your motor running, when they walk out and it's about to be on, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. But I mean, it was just like, it was just unbelievable. So, but I have a thing that, anyway, so I'm sitting there trying to calm myself down the whole time that he's walking in, and it was probably 9 minutes before when I first saw him, actually when I took the shot. And by the time he got up there, I was like super still. I had my bow, I had that elite cure ready, and he eased up there. And of course, I watched the playback of the video, and I didn't even realize it, but there was a doe that was walking up behind me. On the video, you can hear her walking, and the buck's sitting there looking in my direction, and I'm thinking he's fixing to bolt, he's fixing to run, and he puts his head down. We put his head down. I'd start drawing back, and about that time I start drawing back, a doe runs off behind me. I guess she saw me move, and when she did, he throws his head back up, and I'm in mid-draw.
Oh, man.
And I'm holding that bow halfway through my draw cycle and just sitting there and just looking at him, just locked in on him. And I hold it for about 3 or 4 seconds, and I was like, he's fixing to bolt, so I just kept easing it back real slow until I got to my handful. And I got that pin. I shoot a single pin, and I had it on 30 yards. And I got that pin just a little bit above the bottom of where his lungs would be. And it settled good, and I hit that thumb button, and that arrow sailed, and it said, whack! And when it hit him, of course, he spun around to run, and when he spun around to run, that arrow was, I mean, it was just a little bit of it, not just, it was almost all the way through him, just a little bit of it hanging on. And when he jumped the fence, the arrow fell out. And when he jumped the fence, I saw that entry mark of that slick trick where it hit him at. And I knew, I was like, he ain't going to be able to hold that. And sure enough, man, he ran over about 150 yards. He got on top of the ridge, and I saw him kind of slowing down a little bit. He went right over the tip of the ridge, and he was piled up dead. And waited for my outfitter guy, Mark Novak, to get over there. And we walked up. We trailed blood in the snow, which was always a bucket list of mine. I've always wanted to shoot one in the snow and be able to trail the blood in the snow. And man, that was an experience in itself, and really cool. Something I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
But man, we got over there to that buck, and I mean, it looked like a cow laying on the ground. He weighed 267 pounds, and then we got to looking at his horn, at his rack, and he had trash on him. He had split, bladed out brow tines, and he had bladed out G2s, and he had a kicker off the back, and he had like high guards on the front, right at the base of his horns. One was about 4 or 5 inches, and the other one was about an inch or so. And just a really, just mass. I mean, he was just thick all the way through from the base to the tip, and
Wow.
I mean, just a true Kansas giant. And he scored 169.5 inches of bone.
Holy cow!
Now that's counting everything that is an inch, or at least an inch long. A lot of folks like to score them and put them in the books and those kind of things. And my philosophy is, if he has it on his head, I'm counting it.
Yeah, I like it.
That's the way I roll. So 160, I was gonna say 170 inches of bone on his head, and man, I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. And even my outfitter guy, he said, I had no idea that deer was that big.
Wow.
He only had a 14-inch spread.
Yeah, I know from the pictures he's pretty narrow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Man, he is massive. That is my biggest deer ever.
Wow.
And I may never shoot another deer that big. I mean, I've been talking to a bunch of them like, man, you might as well hang up deer hunting. I'm like, well, probably not going to do that, but I was like, one of these days, if my heart quits beating like it does when they walk out, I said, I'm going to hang it up then. I said, but that's not the case. That's not the case. I went and hunted my spot that has blade on it, and buck walked out, and I thought it might have been him, and my heart got to beating just as fast.
And it don't go away after you kill a stud deer.
No,
it don't go away.
Nope. Even when I'm fixing to shoot a doe, my heart gets. I mean, it's just exciting. Just love it, man. We're just passionate about it, and
Yeah.
love doing it.
Well, are you able to tell us what outfitter you were with in Kansas?
Yeah, it was Bowman Creek Outfitters
Okay.
in Haddam, Kansas, and I book his hunts for him. So if you want to go to Kansas, I will help you do your tag application. I've gotten all the dates. I've worked with Mark this weekend and gotten all the dates situated for muzzleloader, for archery, and for rifle season as well. It's a small town. He's lived there his entire life. Really good dude. I had an absolute blast hunting with him. He's got a lot of return guys, and certain weeks are booked up. Like I know the 30th of October through the 16th of November are booked up. But he has other dates available. And like I said, if you reach out to me, Derek Eaves, or you can reach out to 2B Outdoors, check out our Facebook page, like it, and you can send a message on there. I have posts on there, and I have posts on my personal page about that Kansas hunt. And so anyway, he don't mind me booking his hunts for him, and I'm glad to do so. And because it's amazing when you go to a place and you have that wonderful of an experience. Now, not everybody that goes up there is going to kill a 170-inch deer.
Yeah.
But that's hunting. We can't control the weather. We can't control someone's scent control. We can't control shot placement. There's just so many different variables that goes into the successful harvest of a whitetail or any animal for that matter. So But as far as just being in a place to hunt and him showing you, here are the deer that you're hunting at from this stand. This is the ones that are coming in. And to be able to see that and have that kind of confidence and being able to see something and have an opportunity to be in a position to shoot an animal that's really big, it's just a cool experience. It'll keep you on your toes, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Bowman Creek Outfitters. But like I said, you call me, Derek Eaves, and I'll give you my cell phone number too, 662-803-2001. And I'll be glad to get you in the right spot. And if you're looking for something else besides Kansas, we have that too.
Yeah, guys, be sure you go check them out. We started following them actually after the last podcast that we had with you guys, and we never really talked about it last go round, and then we kind of stumbled across it, and I remember texting you, asking you, hey, what's 2B Outdoors? What's the deal here? And so you told me about it and everything, and it's a really cool thing that they're doing there, and like Derek said earlier, it's they're vetting outfitters, so you guys are gonna have a good experience wherever you go. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the name of the game. I mean, we all work. I work hard at my job with Fair Oil Company. You work hard at your job, and everybody in this world works hard to earn the money. And if you're going to spend money to go to a place to hunt, you want it to be what you expect it to be. But you want it to be what you're told. When you're told what it is, you want it to be that when you get there. I couldn't get that out right there. Yeah, I know what I mean.
Yes, sir. Well, Derek, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your evening here to come on and tell us a couple awesome stories about a couple awesome whitetail that you've killed this year, and then share some info about 2B Outdoors. Really appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Glad to do it, man. I appreciate the opportunity, Sam. It's always a pleasure, and love keeping up with the Fall Obsession crew on Instagram and Facebook. And I tell you what, I was a little disappointed I didn't win that cure.
Yeah, man, you and a bunch of other people. I think there's only one guy out there that's happy right now about the results of that giveaway. So.
Yeah, I did get on your YouTube page and watched it. I did congratulate him. I was tickled for him. I know he'll be pretty pumped up about it. And I tell you what, you know, I know Elite sponsors you, and I promote for Elite. But when I decide to retire this Elite Cure, which I'm looking at the Encore and the Remedy, the new ones for this year. When I decide to retire this Cure, so yeah, I got that antelope, 75-inch goat from Montana, and these two whitetail. I may have to mount that bow up next to one of my deer heads.
Yeah, man, put it up to next to all three of them. That bow's a killing machine right there.
Oh man, I tell you what, good Lord's blessed me, brother.
Absolutely,
no doubt.
Well, man,
but I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, you bet. You're also, you got your own page on Instagram. So real quick before I cut you loose, tell folks how they can find you other than the 2B Outdoor Avenue.
Yeah. It's I'm Derek Eaves on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram. It's at D_rocks ROCKS_outdoor life. That's D-Rocks Outdoor Life. And also my YouTube page is D-Rocks Outdoor Life. So you can get with me on any of those pages. And I'm also on Twitter. And that is D-Rock38, I believe. Or Big D-Rock38. I think it's D-Rock38. It's hard to remember that one. Anyway, yeah, I'm on there. Y'all check me out. And we're always having fun doing something outdoors. And just take an opportunity every chance we get.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys, go check them out. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to our Fall Obsession podcast, episode 30. Derek and Lacey both came on and talked about their involvement in the Mississippi Bowhunters Association and some other cool bow hunting stuff in that episode. So that's another good one to go listen to if y'all are looking for another podcast. So, well, thank y'all for tuning in and listening to another episode. We really appreciate you guys being with us for another week. If you haven't already, go follow Fall Obsession on all of our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube. Hit that follow and subscribe button on this podcast. That way you get notified every week when we drop a new episode. And also, if you have a topic suggestion or questions you want to ask our crew for a future podcast episode, you can go to fallobsession.com/podcast and drop your questions right there. We also got some sweet apparel. We're frequently doing sales and stuff, so y'all go pick you up some of that as well to wear out in the deer woods this fall. Derek, thank you again, man. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, sir.
All right. We will catch you guys later next week on another episode of Fall Obsession Podcast. Catch you later.